Hey everybody, today we're going to do a tutorial on how to make a Hackintosh for your PC. It's basically using Mac um, version 10.7.2. This is Niresh's version. Basically, first thing you want to do is just Google Niresh Mac OS X 10.7.2. You get it off Pirate Bay or wherever else. There's lots of places you could get it. Download that, burn the ISO file onto a DVD. I also put it onto a USB drive, but for our sakes, we want it on DVD anyways to install it. The first thing we want to do, turn on your computer, insert the DVD. Once you do that, just go into your BIOS configurations. You got to change a couple things. So make sure your first boot device is switched to CD-ROM or your DVD, whichever optical drive you're using, and then put hard disk as your secondary boot device. This is what we want for the first time when we install it. So it installs off the CD. So just put it on CD-ROM because my DVD is not showing up there, and then switch the second boot device to hard disk. Then you want to go and change your hard drive from IDE to AHCI so that the Mac can read it. And there's another place. I had to change it here as well. And then the last thing to do is change it to 64-bit mode for me. And those are the only things you have to do in the BIOS for this to work. So now I'll just save the settings and reboot the computer. Alright, so now it's rebooting. This way is the easiest to do it as well because you don't need an iBoot CD, or you don't really have to use multi-beast after for post installation. The only thing you have to do is, I found in the version that I downloaded that the Chameleon package for the boot ROM after didn't work, didn't unpack, so you just have to download the newest version of that for it to work. So right here you want to press a key, any key, gives you 5 seconds only, so pay attention. That puts you into the CD's boot mode. Yeah, the writing keeps going fuzzy to non-fuzzy because it's dark where I'm filming it. Then you'll get this screen with the black Apple logo with the spinny device underneath. The first time I saw this, I thought it was like frozen because it was doing this for like more than 5 minutes, so I rebooted, but it actually takes up to like 15 minutes or so for it to get to the next screen. So I'll just pause it here, so don't get worried if you guys see this, just let it go. It takes about up to like 15 minutes for it to work. So I'm just gonna pause it here and then we'll continue. Alright, so then after about 15 minutes the logo disappears. You get a little rainbow loading thing, scroller, and it pops into this window, or just says what language you want to use. So just push English as the default. It starts its little loading process. The only thing I would switch in this video, other than everything else, to do pretty much exactly the same, is when we actually install it. I'll let you know again once we get to that window. There's also a customization, so this is the only version, the Niresh's version, that you're able to customize installation. So I actually switched, if you want it easier, for sound and network configuration, so you can get the internet right off the bat, is actually going into the customization, which you'll see after after I do this. And then that'll allow you to install the sound driver if your sound drivers shows up there, and your network driver, which I both did. So instantly once this was installed, I had access to the internet and sound. So I suggest you do that so you don't have to use multi-beast, because I know multi-beast, the first time I tried to install this, it gave me a kernel panic and I had to redo the whole installation. So just FYI. Alright, so we want to go into utilities and then disk utility. This allows us to format our hard drive. Because this is the second time of me doing this, I already have a partition. But if you don't and you just have a hard drive, if there's information on it, you want to erase it first. If not, you just want to create a new partition. So see how I have a 500 gig hard drive, but I also have a partition called Mac on it already. So I'm not going to make a new partition. I'm just going to erase the old install that I had on it. So click on the Mac, and I will go erase. And make sure the format is MacOS extended journaled, and then you can name it whatever. I just named it Mac. So I'm just going to erase it because I had previous crap on it. But otherwise, you would just go to click on your hard drive above the Mac, which I have there, and click on partition. So it's done. So yeah, if you click on this and you go partition, you'd see it says current. You just scroll down and click one, name it Mac or whatever you want, and then push partition. That's the only difference you do. Okay, so that's done now. Get out of this, back to the installation menu. We're ready to go. Go to agree. So now you pick your whatever hard drive. So I did the partition Mac, so I'm going to click that. So now here you could actually go to customize on the left, which I did before. Before you push install, if you want to have that instead of like multi-beast, which is an easier way to install sound and your network. So I suggest you do that. It doesn't show in this video, but I did it before. So I suggest you do that because I've had kernel panics with multi-beast I found, so that's probably the best way to do it. So it says it takes about 17-18 minutes. It actually took about 40 minutes. So it's almost done now. So yeah, like I said, it takes about 40 minutes, not like 18. So just FYI. But it's still quicker, I think, than Windows installation. Alright, so it says install succeeded. Naresh line 2.7.1 or 10.7.2, sorry. Installed there, and it'll automatically reboot in like 10 seconds, or you could restart it. So there, it automatically restarted. At this point, you want to keep the CD or DVD in the drive. Then after that, once you're done everything, you do not need it anymore. The only problem that I've had with this installation is where, yeah, this part basically. So whenever I get to this screen, I'll just push delete to go into my setup for BIOS and change it to hard drive instead of CD-ROM now, because the OS X is now installed on my hard drive. But for some reason, even when I updated Chameleon and installed that to install like the boot ROMs and stuff, it doesn't save save the settings. So I always have to go into my settings when I reboot my computer and make sure that the hard drive is the first booting device instead of CD-ROM. So I'll always do that little Naresh picture screen unless you want to change that, which you could. And then I'll get to this screen. It usually takes about 15 seconds or so, and then it'll boot you into your Mac operating system, desktop or whatever. So the first time we get in here, we have to set everything up, obviously. So just pick your country, whatever. Your keyboard language. Any information you have at this point, there's none. Apple ID, if you have an Apple ID, you can put it in if you want. I'm just gonna skip this. You can always do it later. I'm just gonna skip registration as well. And then you could just do whatever you want for your computer, so whatever name you want. Password, all that fun stuff. I should have got the wrong keyboard. Let me switch over. Alright. Let's call it Major Hackintosh. And the good thing about this also, right when you're done this, you could install, you could update it to 10.7.3 with no problems. Okay. Whatever. So now we're set up computer, so you got the name, password every time you boot into it, or every time you have to do some type of change where it needs your authority, you got that set up. Whatever, it doesn't matter, you can change this later. Yeah, sure. Okay, so now we just type in our password that we made up there. And then we're in. First time you come in, they'll just tell you to set up your keyboard. So be like push. You gotta push the Z beside the shift. I'm using a normal Windows keyboard at the moment as well. So your Windows is your Apple and controls your command and all that stuff. So the only thing I had to change basically right off the bat here was the display. You couldn't see how you can't see the top bar, so just go to display and we'll just move this bar over a bit so we can see it, and there we go. Other than that, because I customized the installation for my sound card and network card, yeah, that was all good to go. Alright, so just restarted the computer. I installed, or I updated the software to 10.7.3, which you can do after installation. I installed a new Chameleon, and I changed the stupid background from that spaceship to a nice little beach. Here's my specs, just so you can see. Processor memory. Graphics card and the software again. Alright, so here is the Chameleon zip that I downloaded from that website. It's in the description. So just unpack it, open it up, and basically just follow the instructions. Continue, 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 agree.